Welcome to episode 261 of Control the Controllables. And today is a very special episode as we have the Wimbledon 2025 men's doubles champions, the first British team in 89 years to win Wimbledon, the first all-British male doubles team to even make the final since, I believe, 1960. And two cracking lads. I've got personal relationships with them both. I've known Julian Cash for a long time, and Julian's coach Barry Fulcher was my age. Barry's done an incredible job with Julian, and then also one of Julian's coaches is Luke Hammond, who I coached from the age of 5. And he was out with us at sort of tennis academy for a few weeks here and there, also during his playing career. It gives me great pride to see that. And then Lloyd Glasspool, I started coaching at the age of 12 and watched Lloyd grow as a junior into college, and then had the pleasure also of coaching his singles career as well as traveling with himself and Harry Heliovara on the tour for 18 months a couple of years ago. And to see what they've done there, it's like you sort of Roy of the Rovers story, right? You know, young Brits, we think about playing at Wimbledon, and here they are. They found themselves through years of hard work, climbed up the rankings, find themselves as the form team going into Wimbledon, having won at Queens Club and also at Eastbourne, and they delivered as they stepped onto the hallowed turf of centre court. Big expectation on them in the final, playing against Pell and Hitchy Carter, who were alternates into the event. They've beaten the top seeds in the semi-finals, and you thought, okay, come on, boys, how are you going to handle this? And they handled it fantastically, served beautifully as they have for the last few months. And here they are now as Wimbledon champions. And they jumped on and spoke to us only kind of 2-3 days after the event. And I hope that you can feel the emotion that comes through the screen or comes through whatever platform you're listening to. And I think you'll find it hard not to leave this one with a big smile on your face. So pass you over to the Wimbledon champions, Lloyd Glasspool and Julian Cash. And to start with, we'll be speaking to Lloyd. Not easy to get them on at the same time. So my first part of this conversation is with Lloyd Glasspool. And finally, we get to welcome a Wimbledon champion onto the show, Lloyd Glasspool. How does it feel? That's you'll never get old hearing that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible. I can't really put it into words. It's definitely a dream come true. Walking out onto that centre court, it's especially with so many people coming out to watch. I mean, I'm really glad they moved the final before the women's, because especially the back end of the match was, I don't know, 90% packed, I'd say, which playing the doubles on the centre court at Wimbledon with a packed crowd in front of all your friends and family, especially to get the win, is dreams are made of that kind of stuff.
Well, it was, you're not normally someone who's known for those big celebrations. There's been times where those celebrations haven't been so big. However, I did notice at the Queen's final, there was some arms that went up in the air. You were getting the crowd going. The same happened in the quarterfinal match, which I want to get into that quarterfinal match in a minute, because 3 match points down, you all of a sudden your Wimbledon could be over. And I was starting to get excited, thinking, what's he got up his sleeve here? Has this been kind of like 20 years in the making? He's starting to express himself a little bit. The arms are up in the air, but you played it super cool, huh? And we are feeling quite as cool on the inside.
I want to say, yeah. I mean, the serve I hit, if you could ask me any serve to hit on the championship point, that was the one, and I nailed it. So I thought the celebration had to match, and it was a little cool, calm, and collected. Huh?
Very much so. And on that serve, and I don't want to go too much into your tactics, having known you for many, many years, but I was watching the quarterfinal match with the family. And I think I picked all of your serves in the tiebreak, and the kids were like, "How do you know? Have you seen this? Is this not live?" And I did pick the serve at 9-8 in the breaker that you just missed. But for me, the second serve you hit, which I, by the way, I also picked that one. I picked the spot you were going on the second serve against Harry Heliavari, your old partner. That took some balls because that was a seriously big second serve at 9-8. Maybe it's a little bit different serving at 9-8 than serving at 6-3.
Yeah, I mean, definitely more pressure at 9-8 for me. I felt a little more nervous actually at that 9-8 point than the 6-3 point. You've always got that comfort, that blanket of, if I miss this one, okay, I've got the next one. And I quite like serving on the due side as well. But yeah, Harry absolutely nailed that serve that I missed, so I'm glad I did miss it. And then the second, when you're playing against good returners, for me, it's kind of pressure off because you're forced to go for it. You don't
Yep.
have an option to hold back, which makes
Yep.
it a little bit easier. And I knew I had to hit a good second. So yeah, I just used my legs as much as I could and I committed to it.
And is that what you're doing in that moment? Are you going to a process thought in that moment that then almost overrides the stress of the outcome, which we know can take over so much?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just thinking getting the ball toss high and using my legs, and that's it. Nothing to do with the racket, nothing to do with the ball strike, speed, anything. Ball toss and get up to it, and whatever happens after that happens.
Which I think is a great lesson for people listening. And then moving you into the semis and the final, you know that obviously we go back a long way. You know that I'm a big supporter, continued support of your tennis, and I've been very upfront with you and with many people. I believed back in 2022 there was a moment that you were playing the best doubles in the, but 2023 playing the best doubles in the world. Those first couple of months of the year, 2 or 3 months in the year. Obviously, then challenging times, maybe not, but the ranking dropped a little bit. And then this year, I think from the word go, I think everyone in the tennis world has seen it, whether it's those tie breaks in Australia, you've come up clutch big time and time again, and you just look so comfortable out there on the court right now. Then you're playing in a Wimbledon final. You're the first British pair to be in a final since 1960. You're the first British pair now to have won, I believe, since 1936. How are you able to almost just keep the blinkers on when it's all accumulated into this one massive match? You've got family and friends there. You were joking as the week went on, I finally get some tickets, people can finally get to see me. Quarterfinal, court 3, you don't get many people in.
Yeah.
Talk me through that process, almost that kind of 24-hour window leading into the final, and how you were just able to stay so cool, calm, and collected in the final.
Well, as you mentioned, the lead up couldn't have gone any better for us. I think that had a massive part to play in it, winning two tournaments in the lead up, and then we weren't pushed massively until the quarters. So I think we had a lot of confidence going into the semis and the final, and that does help. If we battled every match, okay, it's still great to be there, but we were in the final, and I thought we were playing great tennis, so that definitely helps. But I was still really nervous, sleepless night the night before, and then just having that team around you, mainly Louis Kaye,
Yeah.
who just downplayed it all. He made us focus on the performer side, and that was it. He didn't mention any tactics. It was all about us. And he just said, "Look, guys, I've been here over 20 times, I think it is. To win this match, you're going to have to take control of the performer, and the rest will happen." So when you break it down like that, and you actually have control of all of that stuff. You don't know. You might be nervous. You might miss all your serves or whatever. You can't control that, but you can control how good a partner you are. You can control how much energy you bring, and to know that is going to have a massive impact on the match. That for me settles me a little bit.
And just a word on Louis, because I don't think Louis quite gets the credit he deserves in what he's achieved in the sport, right? You're saying there 20 Wimbledon finals. And if you start naming the stats, it's just absolutely outrageous. You can't ever imagine almost someone that's had that success in any sport. I've been lucky to be quite close with Louis. People think that he's just a technical coach or a tactical coach, but it always boils down to he seems to just be able to get it with his players, and get the moments. What words do you have for Louis?
Yeah, I think undervalued for sure. Not for the people that are around him, like yourself and me and all the players. And when no one else knows what he does, no one else knows what he says, so that's understandable. But his work ethic still at his age is unbelievable. I think he was working with 8, 9, 10 teams at Wimbledon this year, and 4 of them were going deep. So he didn't go home for the 2 weeks he stayed at the NTC. It's incredible. Yeah, some of the things he says and picks up, just I would never have thought to even think about that. So yeah, to have that on your side is just so invaluable.
Absolutely. And the before I go into a couple of questions, because there's been some questions coming in from people on the social medias, but take me to that moment, the moment that you knew you were Wimbledon champion. You know, was it an instant hit of this emotion? Has it taken time to settle in? Tell us, when did you really appreciate? Oh my God, we have just won Wimbledon, and how did that feel?
I mean, I can't really pinpoint a time. Straight after the match, it still felt like, okay, this was a great win. Now we need to go cool down, do our press that had been building up over the last few days anyway. We've got another match to play in a
Yep.
day or whenever it is. And then it all kind of hit me like, okay, we don't have a match. All my family are up here celebrating. The tournament's shutting down. And then before you know it, you're off out, you're celebrating, you're having a good time, and then you're doing all the press the next day. You're tired, you're probably a little bit hungover. It's
Oh, we're going
honestly
to get
probably
to
not.
that question. Don't worry. That question's coming. And I know
It's
your hangovers. Your hangovers aren't good. So we'll get to that.
it's probably not until now when you just get a day to do nothing essentially, and you can just sit and be like, "Wow, I really did it."
And I don't know if you'll admit this on live on a podcast. We've obviously, we know how many people go into it, and I do want to shout out Claire Williamson. She must have texted about 100 times during the event. She felt it just so much. And Claire, your coach when you were young, setting you out on the right way. Blossom Field, the club that you started your tennis. But and I'm sure there's been lots of people that have shed tears. We've talked about your mum off air. Your mum who would never show a tear, or out loud. She shows how tough she is. The professional hockey player she was. Even when I played her in that stupid game at Queens and she beat me and she had that smug look on her face, she's still got that competitive spirit in her. Was there a tear shed from yourself at all in this whole thing? Or have you kept that straight Lloyd Glasspool face?
Yeah, not at all, not even close. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably one of the reasons why it helped me out there, and I didn't get too nervous. I don't think. Yeah, I didn't get close.
And what is, and that is right, and look, that is, I think, one of your superpowers, right? Your ability to be clutch in those moments, your ability to just, even listening to you there, like after the final, you're still almost preparing as if you've got another match. That's, I guess, the ultimate. Being able to commit to the process to the point that actually, we can keep emotion in. What do you now feel the rest of the year and the rest of your career looks like? Is this giving you a thirst for more, the belief, how I'll go back to a story I tell lots of people. When I was working with you during your singles career, I remember you won a 15K. We set a goal, or your goals, but you wanted to be top 500 by the end of the year. I believe it was in Tipton. Maybe you won the event, and you called up and you said, "Okay, what's the next goal?" You knew in your mind you'd broken that ranking barrier, and I think you've always been someone that then looks ahead. So what's the next goal for Lloyd Glasspool and also Julian Cash?
It has like been a little bit of a shift in mindset now. It's really given me that confidence that okay, I can win big ones. I've never won a big one before, anything bigger than 500s. Even
Yep.
though I felt I had been playing some of the best tennis in the world, I do believe my level was good enough. But if you haven't done it, you haven't done it. You can't say you're a
Yep.
champion when you've just never done it, even if you are good enough. So it has given me that confidence. It was actually funny. My dad came. I don't know if you can see. There's a lot of trophies up there, but I want to say the majority are runner-up trophies, and he was like, "Oh, is that where you keep all your loser trophies?" Just joking. And this was before Queens, so now I've added 3 winner trophies to that little list. But yeah, it's definitely given me that confidence, and now I'm like, I want to start chasing slams. I know I don't want to get carried away, and I've only won one, and
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near that level of chasing whatever it is. But I just want the US Open next. It's a
Yeah.
genuine goal now. Whereas before, I always said I want to win the US Open. Did I truly, truly believe it? I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
now I 100% do.
And more so than a ranking because you've moved up to world number 3 now as well. As you
Yeah.
is it the titles that drive you more than the ranking, or does the ranking come into mind as well? Because I guess ultimately, and I certainly don't study rankings, but look, I can tell from afar of being involved that the year that you've had, you guys obviously moved up to world number 3 and 4, and I guess you're not a million miles away from being world number 1 as well.
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't even thought about it. It's kind of wild. Being world number one has been so far off my whole career. I don't particularly have an answer. I kind of take it week by week and I kind of break it down, not in a bad way, but in terms of money and what I can pay off of my house or da da da. That's
Yeah.
kind of the weekly goal is to just keep breaking down the mortgage or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not too fussed if how high the ranking gets. If I
Pay for a
can
wedding. You got a wedding as well. Like this is.
got a lot of stuff to that coming up, I'm sure. So yeah, I just want to do as much as I can, and in the next 3 years, and then yeah, see what happens.
I'm going to move into some quick questions just that we've had come in. Obviously, we thought Julian might be jumping on as well. He's sacked us off to go on a flight to somewhere. I don't know if he's off with Carlos Alcaraz to Ibiza, but he's off somewhere. The first question that's come in from Ali B. I don't know who Ali B is, but Ali B 24. Did they drink all 153 baby Guinnesses themselves?
You know what's funny? I wasn't even there when that happened, so that's that's
This
just
is
Julian's party.
this is
So
so you can't even claim any of them.
yeah, that he didn't. Well, I wasn't there, so he didn't order me a drink. Shock, but yeah, he that was all him.
So we need to save this. We need to save this question for Julian. This comes from an N Glasspool. I've got a
Okay.
feel your dad's been having a little stalk, I think, on on Instagram. Lloyd, which of your dad's tennis shots do you most admire and try to replicate?
Okay, yeah, that does sound like him. I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna have to pass on all of them.
But he has motivated you to win more first place trophies,
That is
So
true.
he's
Yeah, he's done
and, and
something.
and we know in the Glasspool family taking the piss is a good way of motivating. So that's worked well. Are you a cat or a dog person? We love pets. This is from State of Sport. Cat or dog?
Massive dog. Yeah.
Big dog lover. How do you feel treated as doubles players at Grand Slams compared with other tournaments, both during the event and now as winners?
Phew. Earlier on in my career, it bothered me a little that we didn't get the same treatment, and we don't get the same practice times, practice availability, transport credentials, all that kind of stuff. As I've gone on, I've just kind of accepted it, probably to make my life easier. Whether I agree with it or not, it's just how it is. But I think we've got to take a step back and look at it in a bigger picture. We're still treated amazingly. It's still an amazing tournament. We're still earning a load of money if you have good weeks. So you can't complain too much. You just don't want to get in the habit of comparing yourself to other people.
Good answer. And do you know what? That's my for what it's worth. The big thing, and again, whether I've said it to you, I've said it to other people. I see a Lloyd Glasspool now that's much more comfortable in his own skin, and I've seen
Yeah,
that the last 12 months. Like someone who, and that's for me what has unlocked you with now winning a Grand Slam. I think you've always had the absolute ability, but these things take time, right? Understanding how we think, how we work, what makes us tick, how comfortable we are in environments, and all those things. And I think that answer for me just nails on the head how far you've come. and often people think it's about just forehands and backhands, but it's getting all of those bits right. So great answer. Last couple. Things tightened up in the second set. How did you manage to change the momentum and hold your nerves in that tie break?
Just coming together as a team, we really had to remind ourselves, like, hey, we're a set up here in 6-all. This is an amazing position to be. Let's not give them the energy and them feel like somehow they're winning this match. We're the ones right next to the finish line. So just taking care of our energy, really coming together as a team and trying to switch that background, yeah.
Do you think on that, and this is my question, because me and my team were on the receiving end of you guys and you're serving in the final at Queens. Do you think being big servers, and like if I talk about the Queen's final, and maybe, and I'm sure Nicola and Mike would admit this, they kind of stole a set. Really, you guys were the better team, but they stole a set and found themselves in a tiebreak, potentially going in with momentum, and then you guys made 8 out of 8 first serves. You served 3 aces. You served 4 unreturnables that were spot serves right on the line. So there was actually only 1 point that the guys got in on you, which was the first point in the match tiebreak. Do you think being servers, it's easier to manage the nerves than if you're not necessarily known as servers? You can almost, because you're holding the ball in your hand, and it's like, well, this is what we do. You both serve big. You're both very good at hitting your spots. Do you think that, if I look at the tie breaks you've also won over the last few weeks as well, it feels like that's been almost your bread and butter, even when it's gone to a tie break? It's like, well, we're going to make our serves, and then we're going to get a look on some returns as well. Do you think the mentality shifts because of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're in a tie break, we're very comfortable right now, especially on the grass. Especially the speed Julian serves. I think the stats are we're losing maximum 5 first serve points a match. So
Yeah.
going into a break, we know if we commit to the serve and make it, there's a 90% chance of winning the point. So to have that mentality, I think really helps in a tie break. And then you kind of almost have free swings on returns and you just, okay, you can get one here and that's, not tie break done, but you're very confident that you're going to get over the line at that point.
Lloyd, you've been a star, mate. I couldn't be happier for you, for your family, for everyone involved. It's years and years and years of work that you've put into this, and to see it come out. I know you've got lots more to achieve in the game, but take a bow, mate. You're the Wimbledon champion.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Top man. Take care. And finally, we managed to get a hold of Julian Cash as well. Julian went his separate ways off with his family after Wimbledon, understandably so, has had a lot of commitments. So a couple of days later, I managed to catch up with Julian, and here is that conversation as well. And now I get to speak to the better looking partner of the Wimbledon Champions 2025. We've had Lloyd Glasspool. We've now got Julian Cash. Jules, a big well done. What an incredible achievement. Has it sunk in yet? You're Wimbledon champions.
Thanks a lot, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me. To be honest, no, not really. The first kind of like 48 hours was completely hectic. I didn't have a minute to think or breathe, to be honest. We were both just rushing around. Obviously, we celebrated on Saturday night, but it took us a couple of hours to even get up and see the family with media after, and then we both had drug tests, and it was bloods too, so it took a while. Yeah, I mean, for me, the kind of the first moment I would say it sunk in a little bit was when I did go up and see the family. Just kind of their reaction and their embrace to me. I had, I think, 40 people up there with friends as well, and that moment to me was, yeah, probably the most special, to be honest.
And what was their reaction?
There was a lot of tears around. I was kind of surprised that I didn't cry on the court, to be honest. I thought I was going to, but somehow I was able to keep that in. But yeah, when I went up, it was just, yeah, champagne everywhere, tears everywhere, hugs, clapping, singing. It was a special moment.
So can you confirm or deny? I spoke to your partner, and his mum Me and his mum exchanged some messages. Obviously, we go a long way back, and I must admit, I shed a tear when you guys won the semi-final as well. You know, there was like a real moment of like, wow, you know, incredible. And Sean admitted she did. I said to Lloyd, "Any tears from you?" And he said, "Not even close." He said, "Can you confirm or deny that?"
Yeah, I can confirm. I mean, we only were together on the night we celebrated for a short while because we were both in quite big groups, so we couldn't really do anything all together. But no, yeah, I didn't see him cry. So yeah, for once, he's telling the truth.
and for us at Control the Controllables, we had you on for the episode, and also Henry Patton, Liv Nichols, and Lissy Barnett. I think it was 3 years ago, and you were kind of, we didn't call it the virgins at Wimbledon, but it was your first Wimbledon opportunity, you know. And I remember speaking to all of you guys, and you were also giddy, you were also excited that you were going to get to walk on to the hallowed turf at SW19. And 2 years later, Henry Patton picked up the trophy, and here you are 3 years later picking up the trophy. How do you explain that kind of that rise, I guess, you know, that rise of being at the stage where you're happy to just kind of get your whites on and get out there on the courts, to now standing there as world number 4 and Wimbledon champion?
I mean, to be honest, I'm still pretty happy just walking out on court. I don't think there's any match there or even the practice on the championship courts that you don't get that feeling. And I don't think that will change next year
Yeah.
now, just because I've played another 6 matches and even because I've been on the bigger courts now. I still think whenever you walk around the grounds there, it's always incredibly special. But there was a moment I remember, like, we obviously showed up quite late this year because we were playing in Eastbourne and we didn't get to hit on the championship courts. But I was walking around on that day. We were taking the day off. I was just kind of getting my bearings again. And I remember walking around with Luke Hammond, my coach, and I was sorting some other bits out, physios and whatever. But I was just saying, like, how much more comfortable I felt this year. I kind of had
Mm-hmm.
much more of a feeling of belonging, and I think a lot of that was honestly just because I'd been there a couple of times. Like, I knew where stuff was, so I wasn't, seeing the physio, and then I was like, oh, where do I drop my rackets off to the stringer and this and that, and then I'm pinging back and forth across this huge site.
Yeah.
I showed up. I know so many of the people that work there now, know where everything is. I was able to kind of get in and out quite quickly on that day, and that actually, I think, settled me honestly before the tournament even started.
Yeah, no, I think the word belonging's massive, right? I remember when I was in college many a year ago, there was a guy called Paul Goldstein, and he was a great college player, but he hadn't quite made it through on the tour in his first year or two. And then I remember hearing him having an interview. He was in the last 16 of the singles at US Open, and whoever it was asked the question, you know, what's happened, Paul? You know, you've never really got past first round before, and here you are on last 16. And he said, you know what, I just, it's not, I don't feel I've improved per se. I just feel like I belong now. You know, and that always stuck with me. You know, that feeling. I think we all have it in different forms of life, right? That feeling of, you know what, I'm all right here. I know where things are. I know how things work, and it just settles things. But you'd never played a Wimbledon final, and I don't believe you'd ever played on centre court either. You know, so that was a new experience. So how were you able to, I guess, maneuver and work through that for you guys to come out and look so calm, and you know, obviously double breaking the first set, and I was breaking first game. It looked like you guys belonged on centre court when you hadn't actually experienced it before.
I think a lot of factors go into that, to be honest. I would say the first thing that I think helped us was playing on court one in the semis. Actually, the feeling when you're out
Yeah.
on both the courts and they're full is quite similar. Court one almost feels bigger. So
Yep.
from that side, I think that really helped us just from the perspective of sometimes when you get on these big stadiums, often things like serving or hitting lobs, you kind of like don't really have your bearings. So I felt like we were able to use that from the semis, which was the first thing. I don't think we struggled from that side, which was great. We both in the morning got to the site a little bit early, and we both did the walkthrough. So we went on the
Yeah.
kind of champions
Important.
walk down the hallway and kind of where we'd be waiting. Walked out onto the court. yeah, and the club was incredibly helpful with that, which again I think just settled the nerves. I think knowing what's going on, you wait by the door
Yeah,
beforehand for quite a while. So obviously those moments, it's kind of nice to know that actually, yeah, you're going to be here for 7 minutes,
yeah,
and things like that. So that helped us, and I also think we we've played on quite a lot of big stages this year. I didn't
hmm
think. I didn't really have the feeling until we got broken back in the second set of like this is our only chance to win a slam, and so I didn't have that fear going in of like, geez, if I don't take it today, like may never happen again. When we got broken back, I
yeah,
did start thinking, damn, don't mess this up. But yeah, I think we had a sense of calm. I think having experienced people around us, obviously Louis with us, so many Brits winning in the past, that there was kind of a sense of calm through all of it. And I think what was tricky for us being in our first slam final was we were favourites. I think most people don't have that. And then I think that's probably how they get rid of that fear of losing, is kind of like maybe best case scenario is like a 50-50 match type thing. So there was obviously a lot of talk going in, but something quite weird happened to me on after winning the semis. Obviously, a lot of people were super excited, like Wimbledon final and stuff. And actually, I kind of wasn't even bothered about that. It was more like I started thinking, like, oh my God, like we actually could win. And I kind of had my moment and like the nerves that night. I think I literally slept an hour after the semis. I actually cried in bed thinking
okay,
about like, okay, wow,
yeah,
like we could win. Like this is huge. And I think the fact I slept so
yeah,
badly that night really helped me the night before the match, because I slept
yeah,
like a
yeah.
baby for like 9 hours, because I was so tired. But yeah, that was kind of my moment. I almost feel like I got all the emotion out then, and luckily we had a day after that
hmm
to go in and practice and take care of the body and stuff. So yeah, that was kind of a weird experience for me. I never had that before.
It's such a lovely thing to share as well, though, because I think that is the reality. I spoke to Lloyd a couple of days before, after the semis, and I shared something with him that Gabby Dabrowski had shared with us before the final last year that the girls played in, because she, by her own admission, didn't perform great back in 2019 and just got a bit overwhelmed with the experience. So she shared something with us where she said, I said, if there's one thing you could tell the team, because you've experienced this before, she said, almost imagine that the match has already been played and lost, and actually we're getting another go at this, and
Hmm.
and it seemed to that mentality really settled the girl. The girls lost 7-6, 7-6 last year in the final, but they played really well. They performed well. It was a proper performance, and it took a great performance to beat them. But it's like that at some stage, we saw it with Anisimova, obviously in the singles. At some stage, the being in a final of Wimbledon or winning Wimbledon is quite an overwhelming emotion.
For
And
sure.
that's,
Yeah.
it has, hitting you in bed 2 nights before is a lot better than it's hitting you as you walk out on the court. And I think almost a question I'd love to ask on this is more of a personal question from me. And what I'm about to say here, Jules, is going to sound ridiculous, because I'm not comparing me winning a futures in India to you winning Wimbledon. But I did win one futures in my career and singles, and I hardly slept that whole week
Hmm.
because I was so going over the matches in my head. I had this weird visualization. I was like imagining being down. I was imagining where I was serving. It was really weird. And at the end of the week, I was exhausted. It wasn't a way to continue. Were you visualizing what was happening in the match? Were you going over points? Were you kind of preempting certain situations that maybe then prepared you before the final, or was it just quite raw emotion that was coming out?
Uh, no, I mean, I had a weird week, and it's not the first time this happened to me. I was struggling a lot with my body. So actually, my
Okay.
mind was very occupied during the whole fortnight. I spent a lot of time with doctors, every day with physios. I was rushing off for scans, MRIs, and ultrasounds. And some of the news wasn't the best either. So, like, I honestly was pretty distracted through the whole thing.
Yep.
And so, and it's not the
Not a
first
bad
time it's
thing,
happened to
maybe.
me. No, yeah. It has happened to me before when I'm playing weeks thinking maybe I'm not even going to get through the week injury wise.
Yep.
And then, next thing you find out, you actually win a couple matches and you're kind of going, well, I thought I was going home 3 days ago. Well, this is kind of a bit of a free swing now. But yeah, I mean, my back went into spasm round. I had some hip problems in the practice going into the tournament, and then I've got a bulge in my disc, like pretty low in the back, and it went into full spasm at 1-1 in the first round. Like I literally served twice, and I was in full spasm. I couldn't move. I think Lloyd was looking like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, I literally can't move. Like we served the rest of that game from reg. Somehow got through it after facing some break points. I went off court at 2-1. The physios were amazing, like cracked me out and did all sorts of stuff. And my whole week was, to be honest, pretty carnage with all of that. Which, yeah,
Right,
I think
okay.
was just something else to focus on.
Wow. I tell you what, you didn't have the bloody bulge in your disc when you were serving against my boys in the final of Queens in the tiebreak when you served 3 aces. You
Yeah,
bastard.
that was probably serving wise. It's got to be up there with the best breaker I've kind of. I think I can't even remember the score now, but I think I got broken in the second. Is that right?
Yeah, well,
I
you
feel
guys
like
were
my
set to
serve
break
went
up, and
off in this. Yeah, I feel like my
you,
serve went
you
off a
had
bit in the
one game where
second.
you missed a couple of first serves, but I
Yeah.
thought your serving in general, you and Lloyd, I was a little bit, to be honest, I was a bit blown away with the speed you were serving at. I was like, whoa,
Hmm.
it was like flying through, like 136s, 137s. And in the tiebreak, you guys as a team, made 8 out of 8 first serves.
Hmm.
You served 3 aces and one
Yeah.
unreturnable that was chalk, and
Yeah.
Lloyd hit 3 unreturnables and first serves and which all were pretty much chalk. It was a beautiful serving performance in that tiebreak, but it was also that's what you guys have done so well over the whole grass courts, right? You've played fantastic tennis, but it's been built on how you guys have served. So that's amazing that you shared that with us. That your body was putting you in that position. Now, Jules, I promised you it wouldn't be long, and already we've gone longer than I said. But I do have a couple of things I want to ask you about. The first thing I want to ask you about, you mentioned the nights out. I did speak to your partner on this, and I asked him how many of the 153 baby Guinnesses that were consumed were Lloyd's, and he told me he wasn't with you at that time.
It's correct. He was
So
not there.
who, who who was taking these 153? Don't tell me Luke Hammond was getting too involved in those, was he?
No, baby Guinness is way too tame for Luke. He wouldn't go near that. I think he was tequilas from about 5 p.m. But no, uh, to be honest, the truth of that bill is it was so we had a huge party. We were in the Dog and Fox. There was a party of like 35 people in there having dinner and whatever. And in fair enough fashion, I basically got slapped with the bill without eating much or drinking much at that time. So the 153 had absolutely nothing to do with me. I just thought it was quite a funny photo when I got the bill. My
It
brother came
was.
over and was like, "I think you should be picking this up," and I didn't realize it was for everyone. I thought it was my family. And then my Amex thing pinged after he swiped the card. I was like, "Okay, fair enough. I think I'll need the receipt for that one."
The accountant will put that through as a needed expense, I'm sure, for the team. And as you mentioned, we mentioned Luke Hammond. To those listening, there's obviously quite a big link there with myself as well. Well, Luke's the first player I ever coached. When I started coaching at 25, when he was 5 years old, and he was 6'2" at 5 years old. He's like 6'6" now,
Full
but he was
beard as
already
well,
six
I
foot.
assume.
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable, and the gentle giant. But yeah, I mean, obviously Barry Fulcher as well. Massive shout out for everything Barry's done for you for so many years. You got a great team around, and obviously we've mentioned Louis Kaya as well, who when I spoke to Lloyd, we sung his praises. So Louis had his time. But just tell us a little bit about Luke. He's a bit of the silent guy, lovely guy. Obviously plays very well. You guys went to university together, and he's been a constant with you, right, over the last couple of years, pretty much. He deserves a lot of credit as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I started traveling with obviously Barry's a very busy guy, and I needed someone to kind of supplement some of the weeks on the road. So that's kind of how that first originated. I think it was in 2023. He was living in Dallas at the time, and he did a little trial with us through Dallas at Delray. It was back when it was kind of my first year on tour with Henry then. And he kind of dabbled with some weeks that year, didn't do loads, but I think he helped us through the grass and some other bits and pieces. And then 2024 is when he actually ended up doing an awful lot more than he was supposed to. Unfortunately, Barry was sick, so he didn't travel that whole year at all, and Luke kind of pulled the reins from there. Credit to Louis. I know you said his praise have been sung, but he kind of guided Luke through all of that. It was Luke's first proper coaching job, so not an easy thing to jump straight into kind of the elite end of doubles, which he hadn't coached doubles either, let alone, you know, tennis as such. So Louis kind of mentored him through that, and I know they were in communication a lot. And Barry as well was great with him. And I just kind of, for me, it was a really good. I mean, I had a lot of things going on around that time. My mum was also sick. I kind of needed like quite a lot of personal support. And I think, not to take away at all from the stuff he's done for my tennis, but actually having a friend with me was like really important through that time, and he was able to help just make my life easier. Honestly, the fact he could play tennis well, like, it meant that the practices were easy. If we needed a third guy, fourth guy, like whatever it was, like he could just kind of pick up that slack whenever needed. And for me at that time was exactly what I did need. So yeah, he put in a phenomenal shift that year, and is kind of, I mean, he's grown so much in the last 12, 18 months as a coach and as a person, I think. As you said before, like a bit of a gentle giant. He's quite shy, I think, if you don't know him. But when you do get to know him, he's got an amazing personality, and I think that's kind of shining through more and more. And for me, it's been a joy really to have him with me, and kind of, I like to think, at least help him a little bit grow into what he's becoming, because I think there's a real need for people like him on the tour. It's I don't think coaching, I don't just say this in the UK, but like, there's not that many young coaches that are willing to kind of sacrifice the time and get to an elite level. Like, most of the coaches I see are kind of, let's say, mid-40s ish. So to have someone younger, I think he's able to fill a lot of different roles that, you know, maybe someone who's a little bit older can't. Certainly on the way up, the big thing for me is I could share a room with him. I wasn't earning amazing money back then, and you know, to be able to share a room with him, have fun, have a friend with me, like, yeah, he filled so many different roles, and I think that was really important.
And you got no money left anyway now with all the baby Guinnesses, so that's
Exactly.
You know, you might have to wait until you win another big one, you know. And Jules, all you know, winning your first slam, you know, it's given you, from the outside, all these pretty cool opportunities off the court already. Getting to speak to the Controllables as one.
Absolutely.
You know, but attending the Champions Ball, you know, getting to meet some of the royal family, you know, and tell us about the Champions Dinner. You know, that must have been a pretty special thing to be a part of as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some incredible names there and faces. Also, just quite nice to meet some of the Wimbledon members and stuff that were there, because we often don't get to cross paths with them. As a couple that I see every year that are a bit more on the, I guess, like, they're working on the player side, so I do actually get to see them. But yeah, great to be introduced to some people there a little bit higher up in the Wimbledon kind of ranks and stuff. But yeah, a surreal dinner to be at. Something obviously you kind of dream of. You never quite know what to expect. It was a lot later of an evening than I expected. I mean, we went out the night before until 4, and then I was up at 7 doing interviews. And I kind of thought, okay, like, this night I won't drink, like, I'll be able to recover. Didn't get home till 2:30 despite not drinking. And then I was packing my suitcase till 3:30 to go on holiday, and then I was doing interviews at 7 again. So yeah, it was 2 nights with not a lot of sleep, but yeah, two evenings that I wouldn't have changed at all.
And talking about this, we often hear about the Wimbledon Ball, and we see everyone looking very dapper or glam. The word is that there's a stylist and salon for the women, but the men maybe have to fend for themselves. How does that work? What's give us the lowdown on that? Do you get your tuxes provided, or, you know, what's the deal there?
Yeah, they provide the tux. You go into the locker room on the Sunday, and yeah, they've got guys who kind of fit you out for a tux, and which helped a lot, because I did kind of panic on the Saturday. I was thinking, oh, there's no way I'm going to have to head down to Oxford Street or something and try and figure this out myself, amongst all the other stuff we had going on. So yeah, that was really helpful, and kind of nice that you're going there, I think, quite comfortable knowing you're going to be looking pretty similar to everyone else. It's not the type of dinner you want to show up to in a slightly different suit and then everyone's staring at you. So yeah,
Dumb and Dumber style.
Exactly. I think everyone's glad that Lloyd wasn't able to choose his suit.
Yeah, oh, that's for sure. That's for sure. And what about the dance? We saw it all over social media. I was waiting for you guys to get up with Kudermetova and Mertens and do a little, I don't know, maybe a little Irish Cayley dance or something, doubles, or that wasn't on the menu. How was it watching Yannick and Iga do their slightly awkward dance together?
Yeah, it was slightly awkward. I mean, I think the choice of music was quite tough. It was pretty lively, and they were
Or
supposed to be
was
doing
it?
like kind of a ballroom dance. As soon as they turned it on, I was like I wouldn't know where to start here. So I thought they did a pretty good job, to be honest. It was pretty apparent that Yannick had had some champagne prior to arriving at the event. So I think that had loosened him up as well. But yeah, I thought all things considered, they did a pretty decent job.
And meeting Prince William, Princess Catherine, and talking for a long time. There was a
Yeah.
lot of banter flying around there. We were speculating whether maybe William was asking Lloyd with his Birmingham roots if he was an Aston Villa fan, because Prince William is a big Aston Villa fan. Tell us about those conversations. Did they watch did they watch your final? Did they seem to have some knowledge on it? How was that chat?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real experience. Obviously, they asked us on Saturday evening if we'd like to go and meet them. They had asked if we could be there. So obviously we said yes straight away. I think kind of one of those moments that very surreal, something I probably never thought I would be involved in, to be honest. But yeah, they were incredibly nice. We met both the kids as well, and to be honest, just had a pretty normal chat. They were pretty interested in how we felt, and I think they were quite interested to know what the celebrations had been like. I did say I'm not really sure I can tell you, but they were like, no, it's fine, go ahead. And they seemed to think we did it the right way. So yeah, they were very normal and very nice, and it was an honor to meet both.
Amazing. And how was their tennis knowledge?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, I think they're both pretty keen at tennis. They seem to go every year. Obviously, they present the trophies, I think, quite a lot. They certainly did this year. So yeah, I mean, they were asking as well about like the heat and stuff, and kind of how we deal with that. And I just said we're fortunate that we follow the sun round all year, and this actually feels quite nice for once.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, no,
Exactly.
they do love their tennis for sure.
And noticeably, I don't know if you saw the men's final, but very, very clearly they were Alcaraz fans, because Prince George was gutted at the end. You could see at the end of the match he wasn't happy. But the one you didn't meet was Prince Louis, who would have been. He's the one that causes all sorts of carnage. And I guess they decided maybe tennis isn't a sport to bring young Prince Louis, who doesn't seem to be able to sit still.
Yeah, definitely a tough day, especially for the kids. I think they've got to be on their best behavior there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's nice to see that they were supporting one of the players and not just there kind of watching because they maybe had to or something. I think it was nice to see that
Yeah,
actually they were invested in the match and enjoyed it.
absolutely. Jules, you go and enjoy your holiday. Um, you are a Wimbledon champion. It's we've all dreamt of it. Your dream has come true, and it's a lot of years and a lot of amazing people behind you that deserve all of this. So enjoy every single minute. Take care of your body. Thank you for coming and sharing that with us. And personally, I'm absolutely over the moon for you both. You're both delightful young men, and proper role models in this sport, and who people should be looking at. They should be looking at Julian Cash's journey, Lloyd Glasspool's journey, and you've shown that this is possible. This is possible for players that aren't necessarily written down to be going to be world number one on the singles court from the age of 14, which is sometimes the way the sport goes. So thank you for giving us that, and a big well done. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the States in a few weeks.
No worries at all. I really appreciate you having me on.
Top man, take care. So there we have it, two normal, humble guys who have gone on to be Wimbledon champions. We've heard that before on the podcast in our own Freddie Nielsen, who was on our panel alongside Johnny Murray in 2012. Last year, also Harry Heliavara and Henry Patton as well. And it just goes to show, guys, it's who knows what can happen. You stay in the sport long enough. You keep putting the work in. You surround yourself with great people. We gave a shout out there to Louis Kaya. There's lots of amazing people around those boys, but Louis Kaya just deserves the biggest of hat tips to what he continues to do for British tennis, and just the brilliance and the belief that he puts into these players. And I thought it was really interesting what Lloyd spoke about, how they didn't really get into any tactics before the final. It was all about them being in the right mindset, them bringing those performance skills, the focus, the intensity, the commitment, all of these things that we hold in such high regard. And I think that's another great lesson for us as tennis coaches and as parents, that we continue to focus in the right areas. Sometimes we can overdo the tactical work, we can overdo the technical work as well, whereas being in that right place to be able to perform in the highest of pressures is where a lot of the hard work is done. A big well done to the boys, a big well done, and also shout out to the families behind them as well. There's a lot of heartache, as we know as tennis parents. There's a lot of investment, whether that's financial, emotional, time. And, I know Lloyd's parents very well, Sean and Neil. So big love to you guys as well for everything that you have put into this. Make sure everyone enjoys it. And obviously, as the tennis world works, you don't get to enjoy it for too long. And that can be the problem in sports. So this is a one you have to enjoy, because before you know it, the expectation's back on. There's another tournament. There's always somewhere else to go. There's always another match that you want. We always are striving for something else, and that will be the case as we move in to the next part of the tennis world, which is, of course, the US hard courts. I personally will be going out for Cincinnati. I'll miss the first couple of events. So good luck to all the players out there. I'm hearing it's hot in Washington. There's, watch out for those cramps. Make sure people are taking their electrolytes, because there's going to be a lot of hydration issues over there right now. And here is to another fantastic summer of competitive tennis wherever you are in the world. And as ever, thank you for your continued support at Control the Controllables. Please do share this out there. It's important that we have players listening to real role models, role models that are attainable, as well as the obvious ones that are on our TV screens all of the time. But until next time, I'm Dan Kiernan, and we are Control the Controllables.